Hello and welcome. Today we are at the National Museum of Science and Technology. My name is Joan Melendez-Meisner, and I am an integration engineer for the space industry. I have over 15 years of experience in aviation and space, and today we are going to be talking about shaping the mine of the future. And we are here with some special guests. We have Bjorn Axelsson, who is the head of HR at Sandvik. Welcome.
Thank you.
We have Professor Elisabeth Clausen, who is a professor at the RWTH Aachen University in Germany. Welcome.
Thank you, happy to be here.
And then we also have Per Sundqvist, who is a senior mining engineer in electrification and automation at LKAB. Welcome.
Thank you, I'm honored to be here.
Well, today we want to talk about mining and the future of mining, as well as wanting to talk about the misconceptions and the rebranding of mining in general. So I want to touch on 3 different topics today. So specifically, I want to talk about the critical role of mining in green transition, how to rebrand mining and by emphasizing purpose and innovation, as well as try to use collaborative strategies in trying to engage STEM students in the next generation to be able to go into the mining industry. So first of all, I want to start off with Per, and I want to ask you, help us understand the role of mining in delivering the green transition. How and why are those two closely related?
Well, for start, if you want to make a change, in this case, the green transition, quite big change, you better start from the ground and build it up. And in this case, the mine is the ground. Everything starts in the mine with the raw materials, and therefore it's a matter of supply and demand. And the green transition actually demands more raw materials, more minerals, more metals. So therefore the mine is very, very crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, now that we have that excellent context, I have a question for Bjorn is, let's explore why the workforce right now is such a bottleneck in trying to get the STEM talent into this industry.
Yeah, today we launched a report that shows that STEM students, 40% of the STEM students feel that mining is an unfamiliar environment. They don't really know what it is about working in mining. And many have the perception that mining is also full of safety risks. And that's also one of the reasons why we have Inemon behind us here. Inemon is a car, it's a so-called no-mine car. That means that if we would not have mines, the car would look like this car here, means there would not be a car. So mining is very important in order to actually serve our industry and ensure that we can do the green transition. And this is what we want to convey now when we speak about the talent challenge that we have in our industry. So we want to address this, and we want to partner together with the OEMs like we have here and the universities.
And speaking of the universities, Professor Clausen, based on what Bjorn just laid out right now, what is some of the experience that you're currently seeing in STEM education at the university level?
So first of all, before we talk in detail about STEM education, I think it's important to highlight that we see a mismatch or an imbalance actually towards the perception of the role of mining for nowadays world and on the perception towards mining. So what I observe is the perception from STEM or STEM talents or students in general towards mining is very often linked to a traditional image, like being dirty, dusty, dangerous, something being outdated. We have heard that it's by far not the case, so that we need all the raw materials for our everyday life. So everything around us is connected to mineral resources, and in the next years and centuries, we will need to mine as much as we have never ever mined before. And on the one hand, we have seen the need for raw materials and the importance of the raw materials. But on the other hand, we have also heard that we need the STEM talents. But therefore, we need to bridge the gap between this, let's say, outdated image, because modern workplaces or modern mines totally look different from these perceptions. These are high-tech places with a high level of innovation, high level of automation, safety. We have heard about that, as well as sustainability and responsible towards the Earth's resources. And so when thinking about how does it or where does it come from actually? I think very often we are too far away from the mines. Actually, mines are taking place in remote locations or underground. And so therefore, the society itself, or also then the students and children, they don't have any idea about how a modern mining look like. And therefore, this car is really, it's a good starting point for starting with the discussions and to think about where does all the resources coming from. And to also decide that really from a sector which is innovative and high-tech and a great place to work in.
And Per, just to bring you into the conversation, what do you think about what Elizabeth just said regarding the technology and advancements in the mining industry?
I would say the mining industry is the new tech industry. We are actually implementing fully autonomous system together with electrification in our operations. That's for real. That's not a concept study. We are doing that for real in our core business. So it's really important for us, I would say.
Yeah, and for Bjorn, again, talking about the innovation and progress going into, let's talk about rebranding of the mining industry. So kind of what Per just said, what is something that Sandvik is doing to address that rebranding in general, and then going into the more progress and innovation, showcasing your automation, showcasing your high technology, you're showcasing a lot of the things that you are doing to get us to that green transition?
Yeah, this is why I think it's brilliant that we sit here together and discuss this right now, because LKAB is one of our customers, and what we really want to do is to help our customers like LKAB to do the green transition. So we have electrified equipment to ensure that the mine can be CO2 neutral. We have automation to ensure that LKAB and our other customers can actually mine deeper and mine in a safe way. And then we have a unique offering also when it comes to digitalization, means that we can also help our customers to digitalize their mines and also make it more productive. And that also in itself has a positive impact on the environment. And we really try to articulate and convey this message to the younger generations to show that new technology is here, alive and kicking at Sandvik, together with our partners in the industry.
Yeah, partnership is very important for myself. Working in the space industry, it's really difficult to talk about, space is neat, space is interesting, space is cool, but on a surface level, we want to iterate that it's also helping people here on Earth, right? We're trying to understand climate change, we're trying to understand climate science, and a lot of the components that are in the satellites that are giving us that data come from mining, from the minerals that the mining industry is bringing to the space industry. So talking about collaborative and collaborative efforts. But now I kind of want to touch base, since we talked a little bit about it before, how do we get the younger generation, how do we get the perception of the public to change the image of being in the dark mines and being dirty and not green energy, and changing the minds a little bit to talk about the new tech, talk about the innovation that you all are bringing to this world, because you all are the leaders, you're the forefront for people like me who are working on space technology. So how do we change that perception? And I'm going to talk to you first and ask you a question. How does Sandvik specifically communicate the purpose and innovation to its workforce and potential recruits?
We try to have a very authentic approach. So in all the communication channels that we use, we try as far as possible that it really feels like us. So we let our own employees communicate their experience at the workplace. And when we do media campaigns, we really try to ensure that our own people can tell their story, how it is to work for us, and show also then the younger generation what it means to work in our industry. So this is what we try to do. And of course, when it comes to the next generation of STEM students, we also need to think about where do we find them, what kind of communication channels do we need to use in order to reach them. So that, together with partnership with schools at an early stage, this is what we try to do, and we really focus on that, but we can always get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of, we're gonna have a partner right here next to you. So Elizabeth, how do academic narratives about mining shift when sustainability and innovation are placed front and center? And are you noticing a shift in how students are researching the specific field in mining?
So we have heard actually that mining is innovative and a lot of about innovations in the mining industry. And when thinking about automation, digitalization, electrification, it's not about the technology, but it's also the reasoning behind that, because we are dealing with these technologies to make mines safe, to make them efficient, to make them sustainable, to keep the environmental impact as low as possible, and to foster the way how we deal in a responsible way with all our resources. And therefore, it's not only about technological progress, but it's also a reframing of why we are doing that. And I think this is important, that we need to connect on one hand the technical excellence and the technology side, but also that we need to link it with a societal purpose. And therefore, I think when we combine these two things, technological advancement, societal purpose and needs, what we have heard about the raw materials, so then it's also the understanding that mining per se, it's not the cause of the problem. It's really an enabler for future technologies. And actually, it's us. You have very great examples. So that we are delivering the technology, we are delivering the people, and for making these, so for creating an impact and for protecting actually the environment, and to deal with our resources in a responsible way. And I think this is something we need to focus on when thinking about rebranding, to just showcase and demonstrate our really true identity, what we have, being problem solvers in a highly fascinating environment, being environmentally friendly, socially accepted, and being the provider of the raw materials we need.
So I want to bring Per into the conversation, because this has been very interesting. How does your company view the societal views and the environmental footprint and impact that it currently has on the world?
For me, my job is mostly the electrification of the mine. By 2028, we're supposed to have switched at least 30% of our diesel production units into battery electricals, which are much more sustainable. They are fully electric. They don't need any diesel fuels at all. We have a really good power grid, so we have clean, renewable energy going into these machines. We also expect they to be lower on maintenance. And by 2045, my company is actually going to be totally CO2 free. And that's the biggest contribution Sweden we can do for the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, talking about the topic of rebranding, this is information that I think the public would be super interested in. So I guess the question for all three of you, mainly Björn and Per, is what is it that your companies are doing to try to share that information if they're not viewing this panel today? What is something that your company is doing to get the younger generation or students who are not in college, who are younger than that, interested in these very high-driven technology efforts that you all are doing with regards to sustainability? So I'll start with Björn.
Yeah, no, we really try to focus on our purpose and share that with the next generation of STEM students. So we advance the world through engineering. That's our purpose at Sandvik, to really bring technology to improve those conditions for local communities, for the different type of companies that we serve, to help them to go through the green transition. And we try really to convey that message to the younger generation. And we also partner with the local schools and universities. I give one example. We have a mine academy covering our organization in Sandvik Mining, which is producing more or less 400 service technicians every year, where we collaborate at the early stage with schools around the world. We also have a program where we help engineers that are not taught in mining through their academic education to really get into mining. So we collaborate with the 10 best schools of the world in mining there to ensure that engineers can also learn mining post their engineering degree. So these are two examples that we provide in order to ensure that the next generation STEM students can get into the mining industry, and we try to make that attractive for the candidates as well and for the youngsters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, my day job, I think I mentioned I work in the space industry, but I also try to engage younger students through social media or different types of media, because I think it's very important to tap into that world, being able to rebrand and share information that they may not typically know about space or about mining. And so for me, I like to use Instagram a lot because there's about 500 million daily users on there that I'd be able to teach about climate change, about the science behind the space missions that I'm working on, that we collaboratively work on together. And so, Per, for your company, what is something that you all are doing to try to engage that younger youth and that younger generation?
I would say we try to attract the younger generation by making, for example, automation. We are running autonomous vehicles in the mine production units. We're also applying a little bit of gamification into the mine. We try to get out there with information, come work for us, because we are a really technical advance. We are end users of really technical advanced applications.
Yeah, and you talk about the gamification, which is an interactive tool to be able to get that new generation of young students interested in STEM. So kind of switching topics from the rebranding, but not really, is going into that interactive tool, the collaborative strategies that we currently have that you all can have at your disposal to get this younger generation to be able to go into mining. So Professor Clausen, what role can universities play in igniting that passion in these collaborative efforts to get more students involved in these careers, especially in mining?
Yeah, I think universities can play a really central role in igniting the spirit of the mining sector in different ways. So first of all, I think during study programs, even though we already attract talents then to the sector, but making clear and demonstrate that we are really a multidisciplinary field. And I think this is really one of the beauties of the mining engineering program, to being an integrator and to have really a generalistic engineering study program. And you have heard about international collaboration. What I think is really important for our study programs as well, to really expose our students with, for example, the FEM program or the European Mining Course, which actually is a program offering by 3 international universities in Europe, to expose our students early to an international environment and to giving the opportunity to really learn from different countries, different cultures, different mining backgrounds. And what is also very important, I think, and what we are specifically focusing on, and where I see which really catch the students, is our strong link to the industry, not only by programs, what we have heard, but also to integrate industrial perspectives into teaching courses. For example, like hackathons, we are organizing once per year, or internships, or guest lectures on innovative technologies, or, for example, to going to a mine and to make use of the demonstrators or the gamification approaches, what really is out there at the companies, and to really make the students to work on real world challenges, and where then they can see that they can even actually during study programs making an impact. I think this is something which is for the study program, but I think it's also really important that we attract also the students from other disciplines. And as said, we are a multidisciplinary field. So, for example, courses are also connected, for example, to the mechanical engineering side in a program when it comes to automation engineering, for example. And this is where we are more and more also focusing on to integrate mineral resources education into, for example, circular economy education or mechanical engineering to have a broader, or to create a broader talent pool. And we have touched on that. Talent pool, I think, is a really important issue, because once we have the student at the university, so I think most of them are really, they see the need and they see the beauty and the passion for the mining sector and for not seeing the different career paths. But I think it's really a challenge to attract children and kids and the general public to our sector. And I think this is something where we need to collaborate from industry or with industry, academia, to really attract STEM kids or children to the sector and start early with the education. On one hand, and on the other hand, also to raise the public awareness. So in general, so that it is not an outdated sector, but it's a sector which is really future-oriented, which is important, which is creating an impact, and which is really we are needing when we are talking about our resources.
Yeah, and can a chemical engineer be part of the mining industry when you're talking about diversity, right? Because I'm a chemical engineer, and it's so interesting to me to learn that there's so much diversity in the mining industry. You don't necessarily have to be one thing because there's so many things that you can be to do this specific industry. So for Bjorn, what is something that Sandvik is doing on just innovative tools to elaborate with Per and Professor Clausen is, what is some of the innovative tools that Sandvik is doing to get these kids interested at an early age?
Yeah, I would take a few examples, maybe starting with gamification. So we really try to convey what we actually do in that space. I mean, one thing that people might not know, we are quite big at simulators in the company, which is then based on gamification and VR technology. So this is one of the areas. And we also know that when we roll out automation to our customers, many people that use automation solutions, for instance, they use their own joystick and so on from some of the games and so on, and it's also possible to do. So gamification is one of the areas to really show how cool it is to work with the mining industry. We have what we call AutoMine and OptiMine, which is also opportunities for us to run a mine completely remote. From far remote distance. So it can be in a big city and you run the mine actually on remote basis from there. So we try really to convey these messages to show that those technologies are alive with our company. We have used it for a long time. We sometimes also try to convey the history we have. Over 25 years ago, we rolled out the first autonomous self-driving vehicle in the mining industry. So those stories is also narratives that helps us to convey the progress that we actually make in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's so good that you mention it, because what Björn is talking about is what we actually use in the mine. We have autonomous rock breakers that can be controlled by an Xbox controller. That's really cool. We're also using AutoMine, running our LHDs, which have a weight of almost 100 tons in automation.
I mean, I personally love the Xbox, so I feel like I can run one of your automated cars, mining cars, right? So, I resonate so much with that because, when I was growing up and STEM was always so interesting to me, but something that kind of put me over the edge is these innovative tools that the universities or schools or even companies are doing during job fairs or during, if we're in a museum just like this, a lot of these companies come out, you're able to physically see what the employees are working on. And, one core memory that I had was, I had a VR and I put it on and I was walking through the International Space Station and I just felt like I was floating in space and I was an astronaut. And that's what got me involved in the space industry. So, being able to use those tools, being able to talk about the Xbox remotes, talking about VR, that's something that we can get more folks interested into the mining industry, understanding what you all do specifically and the technology that you're using, because like I mentioned, you're at the forefront of the technology. Yes, Professor Clausen.
So, and this exactly, what we observe. So we are also from a university side involved in many educational things like MINT or STEM camps, for example, or to bring kids to the university. And once we get them connected to our field, very often we see a change in the mindset, really the understanding that mining is something different than what they have perceived or what they have in mind. and to really see that's innovative and high tech and really an interesting field. But as you said, it's so important to get them connected to it, and I think therefore we can be a bit stronger, and where we definitely need to work on. And this is important to really work on commonly, to have complementary and to join forces when it comes to attracting kids and children to our sector.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we work in different industries, but we have the same goal: is we want to get that next generation into the science, technology, engineering, and math. Because if we want a future that's sustainable and that has high technology, we need to get these kids involved at an earlier age. So before we close out the panel, I do have one more question for each one of you. What is one actionable item that the mining industry can take to inspire the next generation of STEM students? And I'll start with Jorn.
I would like to address the awareness challenge that we have and really work on that. Referencing to the report that we launched today, where we see that 90% of STEM students would be open to work in mining if they would see how we contribute to the green transition. That in combination with attracting a global, diverse workforce to our industry, these are the areas that I really would like us to focus on.
Fantastic. Professor Clausen?
So what we need to do is foster collaboration between academia, industry, society and schools to work on early education and to raising public awareness.
And finally, Per.
I would say that we have to continue doing what we are doing because we're fully committed to the green transition. By 2045, my company is supposed to be totally CO2 free. To become that, we need to do great collaborations together with, for example, Sandvik and with the universities. We're also doing this billion-dollar investments that are really technological demanding and really intensive and really fun to work with. We just have to get out there and show ourselves to the world and show all the amazing things that we are doing together. Mining is cool. It's really cool. It's awesome.
Thank you so much for having me today. I really enjoyed our discussion. And thank you for bringing me into the mining world, this space engineer who loved mining. Maybe one day I'll be able to join you as well and become a colleague. So thank you. Mining is cool. And I appreciate everyone for joining us today. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.